The day began like any other on the Miller family farm. The morning sun painted the fields gold, the roosters crowed, and Sarah Miller tied back her hair as she slipped into her work boots. 16 years old, she was quiet, hardworking, and happiest when her hands were busy. While other kids at school cared about makeup, music, or parties, Sarah cared about her family, her animals, and her land. But life on the farm wasn't easy. Her father, John Miller, had been struggling to keep things afloat ever since the drought cut their crops short. Money was tight, and Sarah's mother, Claire, often worked double shifts in town. Sarah took on more chores than most kids her age, and though she rarely complained, some people noticed, and not always kindly. At school, kids whispered, "Look at her clothes. Probably hand-me-downs from the barn. Does she even own shampoo? She's so weird. Always alone." Sarah didn't fight back. She endured. But deep inside, the words cut. That Saturday, while her mom worked late, Sarah was out in the field with her younger brother, Tommy. They were stacking hay, sweat pouring down their backs, when the sound of a truck engine roared nearby. The siblings looked up. A beat-up pickup truck pulled onto the dirt road, dust swirling behind it. In the bed of the truck were 4 boys from school, local troublemakers. Their leader, Kyle, jumped down first, tall and broad-shouldered, with that smug grin he always wore. Well, what do we have here?" he sneered. "Farmer Sarah and her little sidekick." The others laughed. Tommy's face flushed red. "Leave us alone," he shouted. Kyle shoved him to the dirt. "Or what, little man? Gonna sick the chickens on me?" The other boys doubled over with laughter. One kicked over a bucket of feed, spilling it across the ground. Another picked up a stick and swung it around like a sword. Sarah rushed to help her brother up, but Kyle stepped in front of her, blocking the way. His smirk turned cruel. "Ah, look. Big sister protecting him. That's cute. What's it like being queen of the pigs?" Sarah's chest tightened. She wanted to fight back. She wanted to scream. But the words caught in her throat. And that's when it happened. A shadow fell across the field. A voice cut through the laughter. Deep. Calm. Unshakable. "That's enough." The boys turned. Standing by the barn was John Miller, Sarah's father. His presence was commanding, even in his worn work jeans and faded shirt. He wasn't yelling. He didn't need to. His voice alone carried weight. The bullies smirked. "Relax, old man," Kyle said. "We're just having some fun." John's eyes locked on him. Cold. Steady. The kind of gaze that makes your blood run cold without knowing why. "Fun," John repeated slowly. "It's over." The boys weren't impressed. They saw only a tired farmer, not the man he used to be. Kyle puffed out his chest. "And if we don't leave? What are you gonna do?" Sarah's heart pounded. She knew her father's strength in fixing tractors, in working sunup to sundown. But she didn't know this side of him, the side that made her uneasy, the side that felt dangerous. John set down the bucket he was holding. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "This is your one chance," he said quietly. "Leave. Now." The boys laughed. "You hear this guy? Thinks he's some kind of soldier." But they didn't know. They didn't know John Miller was once Delta Force, the elite of the elite. A man who had trained for years in the art of combat, who had seen missions so dark they would never be told. He had chosen this farm life to escape the bloodshed, to give his kids peace. But the skills, the instincts, never left. And when his family was threatened, the soldier inside him woke up. Kyle shoved Sarah hard in the shoulder. "Move, farm girl." That was the final straw. In one motion so fast the eye could barely follow. John grabbed Kyle's wrist, twisted, and dropped him to his knees with a cry of pain. The stick clattered to the ground. The field went silent. "Whoa, what the, how'd he do that?" one of the boys stammered. But it wasn't over. Two more lunged at him. Sarah gasped. "Dad!" John didn't flinch. He sidestepped the first, grabbed his shirt, and used the boy's momentum to flip him onto his back. The second swung wildly, but John ducked and swept his legs in one precise motion. Both boys hit the dirt before they even knew what had happened. The last boy froze, eyes wide. "He's crazy. Let's get out of here." John's eyes narrowed. "Not crazy. Just protective." The bullies scrambled to their truck, dragging Kyle with them. They sped off down the dirt road, leaving only silence and dust behind. Sarah stared at her father, her heart racing. "Dad, how did you do that?" John's chest rose and fell steadily. He bent down, picked up the bucket, and said simply, "Experience." Tommy's eyes were huge. "That was awesome." John looked at his son, his voice firm. "It wasn't awesome. It was necessary. Violence is never something to celebrate, only something to prevent." Sarah stepped closer, her voice soft. "Dad, who are you, really?" John hesitated. For so long, he had kept his past buried. But maybe now it was time. "I was a soldier," he admitted. "Delta Force. I did things, saw things I don't ever want you to know about. I came here to give you peace, so you wouldn't grow up in the shadows I did." Sarah's eyes welled with tears. "But today, you protected us." John put his hand on her shoulder. "And I always will. But Sarah, remember this, real strength isn't in fists. It's in knowing when to use them, and when not to." Word of the incident spread through town. The boys didn't dare show their faces at the farm again. At school, whispers filled the halls. "Sarah's dad is dangerous. He's not just some farmer. Don't mess with that family." But Sarah didn't feel proud of her father's reputation. What she felt was deeper, respect. She finally understood the weight her father carried, the quiet battles he fought every day, not on foreign soil, but in raising his children to be strong, kind, and unbroken. Weeks later, Sarah sat with her father on the porch, watching the sun dip below the fields. "Dad," she asked, "do you ever regret leaving the army?" John was silent for a long time. Then he said, "No. Because the greatest battle I could ever fight is here, making sure you and your brother grow up safe, knowing right from wrong. That's a war worth winning." Sarah leaned against him, her heart full. For the first time, she felt proud of being the quiet farm girl. Because now she knew, quiet didn't mean weak. And sometimes, the quietest people carried the loudest strength. Never underestimate the power of family. Never mistake silence for weakness. Because behind some of the quietest doors live the strongest protectors, the kind who don't fight for glory, but for love. And when bullies push too far, they may just discover the one truth they'll never forget. A soldier may leave the battlefield. But the battlefield never leaves the soldier.